This is the Mooncast. First of all, where are you from originally?
I'm from Italy.
Oh, from Italy originally. Okay. One of my best friends is from Italy originally.
Yeah, but I moved to El Salvador from Florida.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So
I was living in Florida before
you
moving here.
you okay. What were you doing there? Just like working or like
Yeah, no, my family, my wife and kids
ah,
are from there, so
okay.
I
Nice,
ended
nice,
up
man.
there like 9 years ago.
Okay. Wait, so you've been living in El Salvador for 9 years?
No, sorry, in Florida. I was in Florida 9 years
Ah,
ago. I've been in El
yeah.
Salvador for 12 months.
For 12 months. Okay,
Mhm.
okay. And why did you move to El Salvador? Like, what was the whole idea behind that?
So initially, we went to El Salvador to look for a plan B.
Mm-hmm.
There was the time that war started with Putin in Ukraine,
Yeah.
and I was living in Florida, North Florida, in Jacksonville on the beach, and
Mm-hmm.
we were living right next to a naval base,
Yeah.
and we learned that naval bases are nuclear targets. So we decided to look for a plan B in case things would
Mm-hmm.
escalate with the
Yeah.
war, and we wanted to stay as south as possible. We found out about El Salvador and Bitcoin and freedom and all this good stuff that are happening right now here.
Mm-hmm.
We came to visit to check it out, just to find a plan B in case we need to escape Florida. But then we just fell in love with the country and we decided, okay, let's move there right now. What are we doing in Florida?
Yeah. That's crazy, man. And was it hard for you, like the beginning of just immigrating over there? Like, how was that for you, the initial experience?
So my wife and I, we are used to move a lot. So moving in itself was not a problem for us, but there is a little bit of a cultural shock coming from Florida here to El
Mm-hmm.
Salvador. Of course, it's still a third world country, it's developing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's different than Florida. It's not as developed and clean and everything. But I have to say that it's getting there because I've been here 12 months now, and it's already a different country. Like
Yeah.
it's, I can see the changes already after only 1 year that I've been here. So it's pretty impressive.
Crazy. Man,
Yeah.
that's an exponential growth, man. How would you say like the legalization of Bitcoin is legal tender? Like, how is that affecting the daily lives of the El Salvadorians? Like, how is it affecting them?
So as of now, the biggest impact that the Bitcoin law has brought to the country is, I think, two things mostly: Bitcoin tourism and Bitcoiners moving here into the country. So they bring capital, which is
Mhm.
good for the country.
Yeah.
And secondly, in some areas, people are learning more and more to use Bitcoin. So, especially like the small shops on the street. Uh, and so they open, or there are also stores, for instance, in El Tunco or in El Zonte. And what happened is that when they use Bitcoin, when they accept a payment through Lightning instead of through a credit card, they save a lot in fees.
Mm.
Because here credit card fees or debit card fees is like 3, 4, 5%, even more sometimes. So
Yeah.
with Lightning,
And
they reduce these fees dramatically. So that's definitely one benefit that business find here, and that's
mhm.
probably one of the most important way to motivate businesses about learning Bitcoin. You
Yeah.
know,
But would you say that the businesses prefer to get paid in Lightning? Like, do they have the infrastructure set up, like with the wallets and everything? And are they all kind of ready to go? I know it's like it's legal tender, so they have to kind of be ready to go, but are they
okay,
really? Yeah.
no, they're not ready to go. So let's talk about that if you want to.
Yeah.
So here is what's happening. So yes, the law is legal tender. So in theory,
Mhm.
business and people must accept Bitcoin as a payment for whatever good and service, right?
Mhm.
But I think because the government at that point understood that most people would not be ready for it,
Mhm.
they were not enforcing it.
Hmm.
So what happened is that to help the small shops or small business owners and the plebs around the country, the government never really enforced the law. But what
Hmm.
happened is that bigger businesses took advantage of it, so they slowed down accepting or integrating Bitcoin, especially because it's all politics.
Yeah.
Most big businesses here and monopolies here, they're not favorable to the current government, and so
Hmm.
associating Bitcoin with it was not good for them. So they wanted to fight it or slow it down.
Yes.
That's kind of
And
what happened here.
okay,
But
so oh yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
but now I'm using Bitcoin in all the big shops and the big retail stores and chain everywhere. So it's pretty
Hmm.
incredible to go to PriceMart or Super Selecto, which are like, where are you from? Where are you in?
Well, I'm currently right now in Bulgaria, but I'm from the US.
Okay, so you know Casco, for example. So
Yeah, of course,
there
absolutely.
is
Yeah, yeah.
Casco here, or Walmart, or the local Publix. If you're from Florida, would be Super Selecto, and you can pay in
Hmm.
Bitcoin now, and it works fine. Like it was not very smooth a few months ago, but now
Hmm.
they integrated Lightning, so or the dollar store. I pay with Bitcoin, and it's such a good feeling.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really amazing, man. And do you think there's a little bit of an educational gap in regards to because Lightning is sort of it's different from, the regular Bitcoin, having it on your ledger or something as well. So do you think there's a little bit of educational gap in understanding the Lightning network from the Salvadorian citizens and how to actually facilitate the actual payment?
So here is the thing. The good thing about the Lightning wallets today is that they are so simple that
Hmm.
people don't really need to know what's happening behind the scene. You know, like
Yeah.
like for instance, internet. What was it? 30, 40 years ago was for geeks. You needed to how to connect or it
Hmm.
wasn't easy. It wasn't for everybody. But today everybody
Hmm.
open an app and it's online and downloads everything and find all sort of information online. So the same thing is
Yeah.
happening with Bitcoin, with this new Lightning wallets. They make everything easy, smooth, and they do the hard work in the background, and you just go around and buy or sell things with Bitcoin. And
Hmm.
on the Lightning network, because it's faster, the fees are cheaper, and that's the layer two solutions on top of layer one, that is Bitcoin. And it's funny
Yes.
because a lot of Bitcoiners outside of El Salvador are not very familiar with Lightning.
Yes.
It's a total new world for them, and it was a new
Hmm.
world for me too. Actually, when I got here, what is Lightning? And you can pay instantaneously. It's pretty
Hmm.
impressive how it works. So
Is Lightning? It's denominated in Sats, correct? Instead of in
yeah, because
actual.
usually in Lightning you make small payments, like from
Hmm.
a fraction of a dollar, sats,
Yes. Yes.
to 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, $250,
Hmm.
and so it's easier to use sats as a measure. I mean,
Hmm.
as a conversion rate of Bitcoin.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the good thing again is that you don't even need to know sats, how many sats you're sending, how many 0.000 Bitcoin you're sending, because the wallet does
Hmm.
everything for you. You just put the dollar amount.
Hmm.
Super easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And would you say that so it doesn't get affected from the volatility because it's would you say it's a little bit more centralized in that sense because
So
how
that's a good
how's
question.
the technicalities in the back end kind of?
So here is what happened. Bitcoin, yes, it is volatile as of now. So all the business that accept Bitcoin, they convert the Bitcoin into dollars right after. It is done automatically in whatever software they use. Some people use the Chivo wallet here for businesses. Some people use Athena point of sale services. Some people use
Hmm.
Strike. What else? And all these, or the Bitcoin Beach wallet that now is Blink, and all this software lets you convert automatically in dollars when you receive this Bitcoin,
Yes.
so you don't put yourself in the hands of Bitcoin inflation.
Okay.
Sorry, not inflation, Bitcoin volatility.
Okay. Understood. And I know that they had this sort of like Bitcoin Academy, from what I was researching. And so I don't know if you know anything about the implementation of that and how that actually works. Is it part of the curriculum for students, or how is
Okay.
it? Or is it something separate? Is it a private institution? What is it exactly?
So I think you're talking about Mi Primer Bitcoin, which is a
Yes.
non-profit organization that provides independent and impartial education about Bitcoin.
Hmm.
They don't work in the school curriculum directly,
Hmm.
but they go to high schools, for instance, and teach the kids there about Bitcoin.
Hmm.
And Mi Primer Bitcoin is probably single-handedly the company that is pushing hyper Bitcoinization in El Salvador. They are
Hmm.
training or teaching or orange pilling like thousands of people every month. And
Yeah.
they're getting faster and they're growing. And also, their curriculum and their methodology has become so good, and now is being used in Guatemala, in Belize, in Honduras, in Costa Rica to teach Bitcoin in all these other countries in Central America. So there is this kind of network effect that is happening also into Bitcoin education, and so many Premier Bitcoin is like expanding everywhere in Latin America,
Hmm.
and it's pretty incredible. And also, again, a lot of people don't know, a lot of Bitcoiner outside of El Salvador, they don't know about Mi Primer Bitcoin,
Yeah.
which is a shame, because if you understand how important it is to reach hyper Bitcoinization, you should find out about them, follow them, and support them, donate to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very, very interesting, man. And I wanted to ask you too as well about what do you think because you came, you said 12 months ago, and you got to see sort of the economy start to shift, right? And can you talk a little bit more about that shift in what you saw from the moment that you arrived to where you are now currently in the shift, and where do you see things in the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay. So the other day I was talking to another a neighbor of mine. Okay, he's from
Hmm.
Canada, Tom.
Yeah.
I did an interview with him on my channel, and went pretty popular. And so we were
Hmm.
thinking about. Do you remember a few months ago it was only us here? You know,
Yeah.
for instance, we live in the beach area, and at that time there were already a lot of expats here, or Americans, European, Australian, Canadian. But today, literally all my neighbors are from New Zealand, from Australia, from Netherlands, from the United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy what's happening. So with all these uh, foreigners coming in, expats moving here,
Yeah.
they're bringing with them also their capitals, their knowledge, their business knowledge, their entrepreneurship. So two things are happening is that in the past, people here would have to compete for jobs only with the Salvadorian elite. Okay, so there were few people, few families, few big businesses and monopolies offering jobs. So there a lot of negotiation power when you know uh, negotiating salaries or this kind of things. But now what happened is that
Yes.
there are a lot more people that are looking for help, for instance, with their house, or with the kids, babysitters, nanny, people to cook for them. And at the same time, a lot of people come here and start businesses. So they offer new
Hmm.
jobs and new skills. So what I'm seeing is the process is a slow process. It's still going to take time, but it's very similar, I think, to what happened in the United States, where at the beginning was everybody was poor and there were few rich people.
Yeah.
What's happening right now here is kind of the same thing. We are building a middle class. Okay, while in the United States they're destroying the middle class, here it is being built, and I'm seeing it.
Hmm.
And so that, together with another great thing that happened in the country, where the current government declared war on gangs. What
Hmm.
happened is that they arrested almost all the gang members here. So now you can safely go out at night. You don't have to worry that someone is going to murder you or kidnap you or rape you. In the
Hmm.
past, Salvadorian have lived in lockdown pretty much their whole life because every time they
Yeah.
step out of their house or the school, they could be in trouble. Okay.
Hmm.
Not only that, on top of that, they don't have to pay this 30% extortion tax that everybody here was paying to the gangs. So two things are happening. All the expats that bring money and capital and businesses here. One. Two, all the business here and the locals don't have to pay anymore this 30% gang extortion tax.
Hmm.
So the country had pretty much a 30% income increase or a salary increase here.
Hmm.
On top of that, there is another big phenomenon here, which is the diaspora. So I think in El Salvador, there are about 6 million people. And there are, I don't remember if 1 or 2 or more million Salvadorian that are outside of the country in the United States and Canada.
Hmm.
And the Salvadorian that escaped here, escaped either the civil war like 40 years ago or the gangs here about 20 years ago to recently. They want to come back to their country, but now they
Yes.
come with money, skills, knowledge. So they also come back, they build businesses, they bring capitals, they buy houses and real estate. They build houses, so they employ people, they have to hire people. And so all these forces together are building this economy. And in my opinion, in 2 to 5 to 10 years, this is going to be a very, very different country. It's going to be a very rich and wealthy country. On top of that, El Salvador holds in its treasury Bitcoin
Hmm.
that is not going to be debased by the US government, but actually, the more the US government prints money, the more the value of Bitcoin goes up. So there are all these catalysts here. And in my opinion, like El Salvador is just ready to blow up big time. As soon as there is a bull run in Bitcoin, I cannot even imagine what's going to happen to this country. And you see, like I've been here 12 months and I already see, for instance, the roads are a little bit cleaner than they used to be. Okay.
Hmm.
The A lot of roads now have 3 lanes. They are
Hmm.
repainting the historical center. I made, for instance, very interesting. I made a video about the historical center of San Salvador, and
Hmm.
I was there like I don't know 10 months ago, and
Yeah.
you couldn't see anything because it was dirty, it was messy, it was chaotic with
Yeah.
cars. There were
Yeah.
all these little stores, street vendors, so you could not enjoy the architecture or find
Hmm.
where to go to see the church or the museum or these kind of things. I was there last month, and I was looking around. Where am I? It's a totally different place, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful,
Yeah.
the city center of San Salvador. So you
Hmm.
see all these things changing in the country in real time, and it's just very refreshing.
Yeah.
For me, especially living from a country that right now is decaying and it's getting worse, the United States or even Europe.
Yeah, man, you get me excited, man. You get me excited because I'm thinking to take a trip and sometime in Q1 next year, and I'm hoping I'm not going to be too late. But I did also have a question as well too in regards to because I know they have the presidential elections, right? How does
Mhm.
that work? Because we know Bukele is a great leader, but
Mhm.
how long can he serve? And what do you think the implications of that would be once he leaves? Do you think the person that would take over would be good? How do you see the whole entire political landscape in the next 3, 4, 5 years? I don't know if it's every 5 years it can serve or every 4 years like in the States, but can you just walk me through that a little bit?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you my personal opinion on what's gonna happen based on my experience right here. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So a lot of people ask me about Bukele. What do I think about Bukele? And my answer is that I try not to look at people, politicians. I don't look at their actions. I don't look at their promises. To me, the only thing that matters is the results. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So you go around the world and you see a lot of politicians promising this and that and all goodness that they're going to do. And all the
Hmm.
world is being destroyed right now. Every country is decaying. Like if you go to England, the knife attack rate is through the roof. All the
Hmm.
metropolis in the United States, they are like dystopian hellholes right now. It's crazy what's
Yeah.
happening. If you go to Chicago, uh, Silicon Valley, in San Francisco, California, New York, it's hell. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend not to trust people, what they
Yeah.
say, or in the case of politicians, their actions. I try to look at the results. And as of now, the results of El Salvador, or the results that El Salvador is getting under all point of views, economic, tourism, criminality, education, all the things, they are improving dramatically. A lot of Salvadorians that I talk to, they still cannot believe what's happening. And they are so scared that it's going to go back on how it was before, that they
Mm-hmm.
kind of stop themselves from being happy because they're worried, because they don't think this is going to last. So that's how bad El Salvador had it. It's
Wow.
crazy. It's horrendous what was happening in this country to these people. And Salvadorian people are some of the nicest, kindest, most respectful people all over the
Mm-hmm.
world. Okay, just a
Yeah.
beautiful population and culture. And so I think also because of Bitcoin, at some point, any politician here will be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
The
That's
faster the country accepts and adopts Bitcoin on a large scale, the
mm-hmm.
more irrelevant politicians will be. Now, at the same time, the current government is working on reducing the government. So, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, they have, I don't know, I think like, this is a very small country geographically, and they have like over 250 different counties. Now, in England, in the States, I think there would be counties. And all these counties are there, not because they fulfill a useful role, but just because this way they can give jobs to friends and families, high school friends and boyfriends and girlfriends and nephew.
Mm-hmm.
There, all these corruptions and what is it, despotism, I think it's called. And so the government Bukele right now is trying to pass laws to reduce all the bureaucracy and reduce the government. We don't need all these people not to do anything and just suck money out of the economy, out of the honest
Yes.
people that work for money.
Yes.
Which also, if you think about it, it's another thing that's going to help improve the economy. Less money gets stolen by the politicians here, more money is in the
Mm-hmm.
economy, more entrepreneurship, more things can be built and grown.
Yes.
So we just add another fourth point to what's going to happen to the economy. And so to me, I try not to care too much or look too much about politics. Of course, in these times, we have to understand what is actually going on in a country if you want to
Mm-hmm.
move there or live there, because you need to be careful.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, to answer more in detail to your question, Bukele will be, if he can be re-elected. That's what people ask a lot. So I think here in El Salvador, terms are 5 years long,
Mm-hmm.
and you can only have one term at a time. You cannot have two consecutive terms.
Okay.
And I think next year is going to be the election here,
Okay.
2024.
Mm-hmm.
So people worry, okay, all these good things are happening because of Bukele. What happens if Bukele gets kicked out of the government, doesn't get re-elected, or Bukele cannot be re-elected because it's in the constitution?
Mm-hmm.
Here is my thought about that. Besides the fact that Bitcoin with time will make politicians and politics irrelevant here, is
Mm-hmm.
that Bitcoin is just Bukele is just one person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And together with Bukele, there are all the Nuevas Ideas Party people that have helped build this country, learning about Bitcoin and wanting to actually change the country for good. So I don't think anybody saying in his mind or honest will ever vote again here for somebody that doesn't come from the Nueva Ideas Party. You understand?
Mm.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not about one man. It's about the country waking up and realizing, oh, wait a second, we can actually fix problem. We can actually have a decent, normal country and be free from violence, from extortion, from all these horrific things that were happening in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And you know
Yeah.
what's interesting about that? That is not only El Salvador, because all the country around El Salvador, countries even in Latin America, they're watching very closely what's happening here, and people are waking up and say, wait a second. So you're telling me that if the government actually is not corrupted, and if the government actually wants to fix things or improve the country, they can. So why is
Yeah.
not happening in my country? Why is not happening in Belize, in Honduras, in Bolivia, in Argentina?
Hmm.
And so it's interesting because a lot of politicians, especially in developing countries, are kind of worried about this phenomena here, because now they're going to be like on the line too, meaning, oh, people are waking up. We actually have the power to do something. We're just screwing everybody over because of corruptions, because we get our
Yeah.
money and we don't care about people. It's just all politics.
Hmm.
To me, it's just all theater.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see, what's happening in El Salvador is important and encouraging, not only for El Salvador, but for all Latin America and for all the world. That's it. And that's
Yeah.
why you, outside of El Salvador, you see all this propaganda attacking El Salvador.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
You see all these things that then you leave here, you go out and say, "Oh, what the fuck are they talking about on this debate?
Yeah.
Like, where are they taking that information? Did they even come here to check it out?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Typical stuff, man. Yeah, no, it's super fascinating for me too. And do you think that potentially during the next bull run, we would see a shift in more countries adopting Bitcoin as legal tender, specifically in Latin America, or do you think in other countries? What is your theory about this?
that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Imagine this. El Salvador is achieving all this and promoting Bitcoin and teaching Bitcoin to people here
Hmm.
during a bear market. Imagine how hard that is. Everybody complains,
Hmm.
oh, Bitcoin was 60,000, now it's at 30. I'm afraid I lose. But we are doing
Hmm.
it in a bear market. So imagine what happened when the bull market hits, and now everybody, oh, what is this Bitcoin? Oh, let me see. Oh, maybe Bukele was right. Well, what is this Bitcoin again? And they start asking friends and family. And that's why Mi Primer Bitcoin, which are a team of great people, I consult with them. I try to help them as much as I can. I'm just busy. They have a goal now to build a base of, I don't remember how many, uh, like very strong, hardcore Bitcoiners. Then, when the bull market hits, all their family members and friends and community will go to them. They're going to have their minds open, their antenna will be receptive, and they're ready to be
Hmm.
thoroughly orange pilled. So that's why I think El Salvador will be on 100% Bitcoin standard
Hmm.
in less than 2 years,
Wow.
I think.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting because we all know. I mean, if you're in the know and you're part of the Bitcoin community and stuff, you know that there will be another bull run. We know the Bitcoin halving. We understand the supply and demand. We understand the problems in macroeconomic environment of the CBDC being released in certain countries and
Yeah.
currency instability and inflation and all these different types of things. So we know it's inevitable. But from to the outside world, I still feel like there's still an education gap and an infrastructure gap in regards to the onboarding process, right? Um, and I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't even know because if you look now, like if you see the situation now with Bitcoin at layer one, the settlement layer, you see the introduction of BRC20 tokens. I don't know if you've seen
Mhm.
what's been going on,
A little
but
bit.
yeah, so people have implemented a way to inscribe tokens on the Bitcoin base layer, and now it's getting super expensive at the base layer. So people are going to need to adopt the Lightning Network and also use other layer two side chain scaling solutions as well to, because people want to, do DeFi and stuff like that on top of Bitcoin, leveraging stacks and all these different types of layer twos. So my thing is, will the infrastructure be ready? Is my point. Will it be ready in time? Because right now in the bear market, Bitcoin gas fees are high at base layer. What does that look like in a few years? How are people going to transact at base layer if they don't understand, they're not knowledgeable about layer two and Lightning Network? What do you think about this?
Okay, so to be honest with you, I'm not an expert in this topic, but
Yes.
my limited understanding and my probably uh, non-relevant opinion on this is that I believe that humans develop solutions, especially when there is a need. When we are pushed to our limits or when we reach bottom is when we change, is when we innovate, it's when we have breakthroughs,
Hmm.
and then we go from there. So I think that the Lightning Network also is growing exponentially. On top of
Hmm.
that, there are other solutions. I think there is another protocol called Liquid,
Yes, liquid
uh,
stacks. Yeah.
something like that. Okay, I'm not an expert of
Hmm.
that, but I just hear
Yeah.
these things when I spend some time on Twitter, you know? And
Hmm.
so, in my opinion, is the infrastructure going to be ready? Maybe no, probably not, or maybe yes, I don't know. But even if it is not ready, we need to understand that why people are will get into Bitcoin. Okay, because the truth is that most people at that point will get into Bitcoin for investing in Bitcoin to or to multiply their money. So I think from my understanding, even if that happened, that should not have too big of an impact on the layer two, like Lightning. So people here in
Hmm.
El Salvador, people that use Bitcoin to transact, to buy stuff daily, I don't think they're going to be affected too much. But again, I'm
Hmm.
not an expert, so I don't know. It's just my hybrid view with the little knowledge that I have about this topic specifically.
Okay, yeah, yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine. We can because I also wanted to ask you too and get into the new laws, like the
Mhm.
taxes, right? Can you just clarify? Because from my understanding, there's no property tax, no tax on technological innovative tools or any kind of business that's tech related. Is this all correct?
So the government just passed a law, I think 1 or 2 months ago,
Yes.
where technology and innovations won't be taxed. And I think that's at least for the next 15 years. Okay. So, for instance, you see businesses like Strike or the Fold app moving headquarters here to El Salvador because it's
Hmm.
the it's a strategic move for them. If they pay less taxes or zero taxes in this case, they can grow their business better and faster. So
Hmm.
yes, you're correct. There's no taxes on technology and innovation. You can come here with your tech business registered here and have a 0% tax rate. On top of that, they're building Bitcoin City. Bitcoin
Hmm.
City will be a special economic zone which has no taxes. The only tax there would be a value added tax, if I remember well.
Hmm.
So that also creates a lot of incentive for people and businesses to come here, to move here, bring capital.
Hmm.
On top of that, my personal opinion is that in the future, El Salvador will become a 0% or a 1% tax country, like what is the Emirates, the Abu Dhabi, all these other city
Yeah,
countries.
Dubai.
Dubai,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah.
So I think the government, the current government, is smart enough to understand that. So I don't know if you have read, for instance, the news about Safety Amos uh, being an economic advisor for, I don't know if for the government here or for also Bitcoin, Bitcoin Association. So if you're familiar with the Bitcoin Standard Book or the Fiat Standard books or all
Of course,
safety
of course.
books, you
Mm.
understand what kind of advices uh, El Salvador and businesses here will get from Safety. So
Hmm.
if you understand economic, Austrian economics, and all these related topics, you can understand how El Salvador will develop economically and will boom.
Hmm. I
So I don't know
mean,
if that answers your question.
it, it does to an extent, yes. But I also had to. I wanted to go take it a step further because if there's going to be no tax on technological innovative companies, does that also include cryptocurrency companies, which is separate from Bitcoin? But does that also include them too as well?
You know, honestly, I don't know about that. I don't know what are the
Hmm.
details of this law, but this law is not only made for Bitcoin businesses. Any kind of
Hmm.
businesses related to innovation and technology, will
Mhm.
be able to take advantage of this 0% tax rate.
Okay. Okay. And also my next question too as well is if there's going to be 0% tax rate for the technological innovative companies, how are they subsidizing the public goods and services, with less tax revenue as a subsequent effect of,
Okay,
not being able to get it from the tech?
that's a good question. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So, why do you think there is going to be less tax revenue?
Well, I'm assuming that
Okay,
because the tech companies haven't come completely yet, and the infrastructure isn't built, and they're not producing as much as they should yet. I'm not saying that they won't be able to in the next 1 to 2 to 3 years, but I'm saying as of now, I'm
okay.
sure,
Let me give
they're
you a
just not
different
setting up.
angle.
Yeah.
You know, even if the business doesn't pay taxes, but if you start bringing here all these tech businesses, how
Hmm.
many capitals you bring here, how many offices will need to be rented, how many uh, people would get newer, different, better jobs and get paid more money.
Hmm.
So what happened is that maybe the business directly is not paying taxes, but
Hmm.
all the people that are employed or the other businesses that are used by the tech business, they will have to pay taxes. So
Hmm.
that's how you actually grow tax revenue. Because what happens in countries is that when you overtax people or businesses,
Hmm.
people think and say, why am I staying here? Why I have to pay all these taxes when I can go somewhere else,
Yeah.
pay less taxes and live better? So you actually lose tax revenue when you tax too much because people and businesses go to somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do jurisdictional arbitrage.
Hmm.
So, for instance, this makes me think about Apple that keeps its cash not in the United States. It keeps, I think, in Ireland,
Ireland. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Or you see a lot of businesses that they don't register in the United States. Maybe they register
Hmm.
in Singapore or in Dubai or in other countries
Yeah.
for this reason. So, unfortunately, most politicians, they come from, first they are corrupt, and that's uh, besides what the point I'm making. So let's take out the
Yeah.
corrupt politicians. So let's take the one that maybe they want to do good, but they're a little dumb and ignorant and don't really understand economics. And that's because when we go to school, we all get indoctrinated into Marxism and Keynesianism and all their flawed economics that doesn't work. So
Exactly.
we think that the state, to make more money, needs to tax more. Actually, it's the opposite. A state, if it wants to make more money, needs to tax less and bring in entrepreneurship. Okay? Because
Yes.
if you overtax and then business leaves, you are left without
Yeah.
money. But if you tax less and you get a lot more business coming in, that's how you make more money.
Hmm.
It's not only
Yeah.
about the business or the government getting more money. It's also about improving the quality and the standard of life for the population in that geography. Because
Yeah.
then us and our kids will have better job opportunities. They will have better entrepreneurial opportunities. We will have better investment opportunities. And so the
Yes.
whole country gets lifted up. Everybody gets richer. Okay.
Yes.
How do you create poverty? You tax people and tax people to
Eh,
death and share everything equally and through society, and everybody's poor.
Yeah.
Nobody produces anymore because it's not worth it for a business. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I understand where the question comes from, but it's because in economics we always need to think about the second and third and fourth order of effect of any action that people, businesses, or government takes. And not think
Yeah.
directly, oh, this business is not paying taxes, so the state makes less money. No, wait a second. If this business doesn't pay taxes, what also is happening? What else is triggering into the economics?
Yes.
That's why I think this country, El Salvador, is gonna blow up. It's
Yeah.
gonna, a lot of people like to compare El Salvador to Singapore for what's happening. I
Hmm.
think El Salvador will dwarf Singapore economically. You know,
Hmm.
for two reasons. First, El Salvador also has some resources which Singapore doesn't. Second, El Salvador has adopted a sound money standard. has adopted Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this will bring, all these other positive effects to society that cannot
Mhm.
come from fiat money, from money that loses value. And because our money loses value, our dollars, our pounds, our euro loses value, we are forced either to work to death and to do something
Mhm.
that we hate because we need to pay the bills,
Yeah.
or to gamble our money away in risk investments.
Yes.
But when we live in a society with sound money, you know what happened? That there's going to be a prosperous society. We're going to pick the job or the business that we want to do, something that we want to pursue. And because we don't have to learn investing, we don't have to risk our money because we don't want to keep it in the bank losing value.
Mhm.
We can just save it in Bitcoin and it will keep its value or grow together with money printing. People can be happier. I
Yes.
don't want to learn investing. I hate investing. I had to learn it. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to, should not learn investing. Like
Yeah.
doctors, teachers, engineers, coders, mechanics, they should not learn investing unless they want to. We are all forced because our money loses value because it gets debased
Mhm.
and printed out of existence by the government.
Yes. Yes. It's definitely a ticking time bomb for sure. And I think people don't understand the concept of it. And I totally agree with you with everything, with the Marxism and everything. Yeah, I was on board, but I wanted to just get your perspective on it for sure. But we're on the same page there as far as that goes. But with taxes, man, it's essentially you're getting taxed twice, right? Because you're getting taxed from the government, and then they're
Think
also
about
printing the money, and
think
it's
about
indirect
that.
tax.
Twice you get taxed 10 times. Okay? So they take payroll taxes from the
Hmm.
employer, and then they tax you on your income. So you're taxed twice. And then they tax you when you go buy something, and value added tax. They tax you another time. And then they tax you if you buy real estate, and then you buy real estate taxes. What the hell is going
Yeah,
on? Like, you
yeah,
already taxing. Why do you keep taxing me and taxing me? Tax me once, right?
exactly.
If you think
Yeah.
about it, that's awful. Like, and if you think about this, the tax laws and systems in all the countries are always very complicated and convoluted.
Yes.
And in my opinion, they do it on purpose. So that
Yeah.
the average person that needs to make ends meet, that needs to pay the bills and try to spend some time with their kids when they have energy because they're working already 2 or 3 jobs because they cannot keep up, talking about the average
Hmm.
person.
Hmm.
They have no time to figure out what is going on. They don't realize, hey, I'm paying taxes 10 times. You already taxed me here. Why you tax me here, there, and there? If you
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
But most people don't have time to think about it. Or more
Hmm.
people don't want to, and they should not. We should live in a freer society
Hmm.
where we should not worry about these things. And I
Yeah.
think this is being built right now here in El Salvador, to
Yeah.
plug it in to
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah, I definitely feel like El Salvador is, for me personally, I see the trajectory that they're going, and I consider them, you know how Switzerland is neutral? I kind of
Mhm.
compare it in that essence of neutrality for the future,
Yep.
where it's going to be like the safe haven, where it's not going to be part of any war. Everyone's
Let
going to
me.
go there.
Okay, you want to see another something that I think is very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's imagine that Bitcoin fails everywhere in the world except in El Salvador. Okay,
Hmm.
let's
Hmm.
imagine that Bitcoin, a sound money with a limited quantity, like real scarcity, fails
Hmm.
everywhere, but not in El Salvador, and becomes El Salvador legal currency here and money.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is game theory. Think about what happened. You know how in the past people would buy to protect their wealth, the Switzerland, the Swiss francs, or
Hmm.
gold, or investment in Switzerland, and put their
Hmm.
cash there, their gold in Swiss vaults.
Hmm.
Once people understand, investors, smart money people understand. Wait a second. There are all these countries in the world, or currency are getting debased. where do I put my money? Do I buy the Swiss franc? Do I buy the euro? Do I buy the yen? Do I buy the dollar? They're like, oh, wait a second, there is this little country that has Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? And they're, oh, Bitcoin. You're telling me that El Salvador cannot print more Bitcoin? You're telling me that El Salvador cannot debase Bitcoin? You know what? Let me put my cash reserves in Bitcoin in El Salvador. So even if Bitcoin doesn't get mass adopted, the value of Bitcoin is always going to grow. Think how crazy that is, just because one country adopted it.
Yeah.
So to connect that to your analogy, that I agree with it.
Yeah.
El Salvador is not only becoming like a new Singapore, it's also becoming like the new Switzerland, the new independent, neutral, sound money. You know, it was gold for Switzerland. Now it's not anymore. They print their fiat, and that it's done. Switzerland is done, unfortunately. That's a done.
Yeah.
You know, the new El Salvador is also the new Switzerland, where people will be able, businesses and investors will be able to protect their assets, keep them anonymous if they want to, keep them privacy on their investments here in El Salvador, thanks to Bitcoin. So imagine all these things compounding, you know, in El Salvador, all these good incentives, but I don't know what's going to happen to El Salvador.
Yeah, I also have to follow up on this to even expound upon this thought, because you know they're rolling out the central bank digital currencies, right? And so, in my opinion, if the U.S. has theirs, Europe has theirs, BRICS formulates another one. In regards to international trade, how do we? There's too much counterparty risk at that point. Because am I going to trade with your programmable money and put that into my reserves? Or will I use a neutral form of money that's not controlled by anyone, that's fully decentralized, that's self-sovereign?
Is apolitical.
It's apolitical, you know? So this is why I think that at a certain point, people are going to be too frightened for the other country to push a button and turn off their cash reserves, because they're storing too much of their CBDC in their cash reserves, and they can track every single thing you do and all your spending. So I think there's too much counterparty risk here with the international trade.
And if you think about it, it has happened already, you know, with the war in Ukraine and the United States government, the Fed, blocking the SWIFT access to Russia and seizing the Russian oligarchs' bank accounts internationally, their yachts. So this is happening already. CBDC will just make it more faster, and it will make it more granular into the economy, because they will put their CBDC here, and we're going to be totally enslaved to what the government wants us to do or think or say. And that's actually a good point. I never thought about that. That's going to work not only on a micro level, but it also will work on a macro level. So macro scale. Yeah, very interesting point. I didn't think about it. So yeah, that also goes to say that if the world, the whole planet, has not learned that fiat money doesn't work and there is counterparty risk, it loses value, it's destroying economies and the livelihood of people everywhere in the world. And then we have this little country, El Salvador, that is doing the complete opposite of what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
Where are people going to put their money? Where are they going to store their life energy? You know, because if you think about it, money, we can use it as a metaphor for our life energy, because we need to work, use our time and energy to produce this money, to produce an abundance of it, you know, to feed ourselves, our kids, to buy a roof on top of our head, and then also to enjoy life. Otherwise, why we are working hard, you know? So instead of using CBDC or all these other currency and fiat money, people will wake up and they will be forced to use Bitcoin. Now, at the same time, people ask me, okay, do you think everybody will wake up to Bitcoin and will realize what's happening and that they need Bitcoin? I don't know, probably not. You know, they say Bitcoin is for everyone, but it's not for anyone. Bitcoin is for anyone, but it's not for everyone, because some people, they just sleep and they don't understand, you know? And I was
going to say, wasn't it Satoshi that said, like, if you don't understand it now, you'll get it at the price you deserve?
I don't know who was Michael Saylor.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
I don't remember, but everybody buys Bitcoin at the price they deserve.
Yes. And that's it's sad. It's sad. And by price, we're speaking theoretical here, because price is not just, the dollar amount. It's also the pain and suffering that you could face. It's also the time that you lose. It's a subsequent effect of basically a lot of different components, when you speak about price,
Mhm.
but it's very, very dangerous to not own even a few sats, in my opinion. Even just 1,000 sats, it's very dangerous not even to own that, in my opinion. I think that you should at least allocate a small, even if it's just 0.00001% of your, because
So let me jump into that because okay,
yeah,
so I don't give personal advice of any sort. I
yes, of
used
course, of
to
course,
to invest to do these things I hate. Hate
yeah,
investing. Okay, so I don't advise anything. I just try to make people think. And to me, the most important thing that somebody can do is first to learn about Bitcoin.
yes,
If you like podcast, go for it. There's hundreds of incredible podcasts about Bitcoin. If you like reading, there are some amazing books. Start from the Bitcoin Standard.
hmm,
If you like watching, there's a lot of content on YouTube online for free that you can watch and learn about Bitcoin. If you like the business angle of Bitcoin, you go and search for Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy and see what they're doing. Okay.
yeah,
If you want to see on a macro scale on a country what Bitcoin would do, you come and check out El Salvador and see, oh, okay, look how El Salvador is changing thanks to Bitcoin and all the other incentives that Bitcoin is aligning.
yeah,
So my advice would be to learn about Bitcoin and then to have your brain actually wanting to be interested, you need to put a little bit of skin in the game.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
as an experiment for fun, not for investing, just check it out. What is this Bitcoin? Buy a little bit, see what
yeah,
happens. You know, have it there on a wallet here, and then have it like I don't know, your wife or your husband or your kids or your mom or your friends download another Bitcoin wallet and send this Bitcoin back and forth and say, oh, cool, wow, it's pretty fast. And now, if you have a friend or a family member that lives abroad on the other side of the world, just as an experiment, have them call, hey, download this Bitcoin wallet and then try to send some Bitcoin from El Salvador to London or to Italy or to the United States. Now start
yeah.
thinking, if I wanted to do that with my bank account, could I have
Hmm.
possibly done that? No, you could have not. Like, and I'm not talking about large sums. Like, experiment how crazy it is. The ability to send 50 cents across the globe in instantaneously and paying
Hmm.
virtually zero fees on the Lightning Network. It is insane. Okay.
Yeah,
And so slowly, the more you learn, ideally, the more you naturally will be inclined to buy more. The more you
yeah,
understand Bitcoin, the more you understand economics, the more you understand macroeconomics and macro politics and what energy, the more you understand energy, the
hmm,
more you learn, the more you will buy Bitcoin, and you will get to a point where you'll think, wait a second, why am I wasting time with any other assets like with my Tesla or Apple stocks? Why am I wasting time with my real estate?
hmm.
Depend on everybody's situation. But once you go super deep down the rabbit hole, the Bitcoin rabbit hole, you'll end up going 100% invested in Bitcoin or like
Yeah,
80% or a crazy amount.
yeah. What do you think? Because you mentioned real estate. So would you say, just I'm just getting your opinion. None of
Yeah,
this is
yeah, go for
financial
it.
advice.
Yeah, yeah.
But would you say real estate? Because I have an interesting theory that Bitcoin is kind of like a black hole and traded against any asset. I mean, if you look at the inverse relationship between the dollar and Bitcoin started here, and then it crossed paths as the dollar just continues to decrease in value
Mhm.
and Bitcoin continues to go up in value. So there's an inverse correlation when traded against any asset over the course of time. Before you could buy a piece of bubble gum with Bitcoin, now you can buy a car with the Bitcoin, and eventually,
Mhm.
I think a house, then
An
eventually
island, a
an
country, yeah,
island.
eventually.
Yeah. Because there's a clear inverse correlation that no one can really argue, right? And if we know that to be true, then in the theory or the conclusion we can draw is that when traded against real estate, eventually you'll lose if you buy real estate versus if you buy Bitcoin. But there is sort of the added value of having your own property and owning, air quotations, your own property until they confiscate it from you because they don't like you or for whatever reason, like they're doing now with the Russians. So what is your theory, I guess, is overall with this assessment
Okay.
of real estate?
I used to be a real estate agent in Florida. I've been a real estate
Yeah.
agent. I work as an agent for a couple of years in Florida.
Mhm.
I've seen from very, very, very crazy expensive real estate to more affordable one. Okay. I've seen like 40, $50 million mentioned there in Florida.
Sheesh.
Crazy.
Who's paying
So
for that?
there are
Crazy.
people that can buy this kind of stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
so here is the thing. Real estate has been sold as a good investment to the masses, the American dream,
Mhm.
because real estate has kept pace or grown in value, not because the house has become better, the house has offered
Mhm.
you more services, the house has grown or anything. It's just because the government was bringing more money.
Mhm.
Okay, so there were more money in among the population to buy real estate, so the prices would
Yes.
normally go up. And
Yes.
so real estate is a money pit. Okay,
Mhm.
because when you buy a house, you need to pay taxes on it. Second, you need
Mhm.
to pay for fixing it up. You have to pay to take care of the house, and so it's very capital intensive. Okay,
Mhm.
so Bitcoin will make people understand that real estate is not really an investment. Bitcoin doesn't really, real estate is not really an investment. Real estate doesn't go up in value because it gets more valuable with time.
Yeah.
People say,
Yeah.
"Oh, because it's scarce, the planet is finite," but it's not really. It's not really what happened. What
Yeah.
happened is
Yeah.
that real estate goes up in value only because the governments prints money, or even better to understand, it's because the dollar or the euro or the yen they all lose purchasing power. So that's why real estate
Yes.
value you think is going up. Okay,
Yes.
because the truth is that a lot of people, "I bought my house 20 years ago for $100,000. Now is 400,000. I'm a genius. I'm smart." Right?
Yeah.
You can shout off the house, and then you can do two things: go buy another house that is also $400,000, so you have not gained anything if you still need a house, or two, use that cash to buy goods and services in society, and you also see that you're not really buying more stuff. You're buying the same stuff that you were buying 20 years ago, or even less because of inflation. So you have
Mhm.
gained nothing from real estate. But of course, we need a house to live, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I personally like to see real estate as a service. Like, if it makes you feel comfortable and confident and safe to own your house, to buy a house, own it, do it. I'm sure there is a reason to do that.
Mhm.
To me personally, because of my lifestyle, my wife and I, we like the mobility and the flexibility. And as you
Mhm.
said, I'm always afraid that at some point the government knocks on my door and they want to confiscate my house, and I can do anything.
Yeah.
I cannot do anything about it. So
Yeah.
people have the illusions of owning real estate. Do you want to see who owns your house? Stop paying
Mhm.
taxes. You will see very quickly who owns your house, right?
Mhm.
So that's the reality of real estate. Now, to connect that to Bitcoin, is that let me make a little let me add a little something to that. When real estate becomes really scarce, then it goes up in value, and then we see actually outpacing inflation, and that happens in locations that are highly, highly, highly desirable, like
Mhm.
beach houses on the coast, Florida,
Mhm.
Miami. Okay, then yes, it's outpacing, and then you can consider an investment. The
Mhm.
same thing will happen in El Salvador. A lot of people are coming here. It's a limited supply. There's going to be a huge demand for real estate here.
Mhm.
Builders probably won't keep up, so the price will go up, right? But
Yeah.
in my opinion, we'll get to a point that real estate will be valued not in dollars, but in Bitcoin. So at
Mm.
that point, it will be very, very clear that unless you bought a piece of real estate in an extremely exclusive geographic area for any reason, can be the government or can be a special climate that you like or enjoy, or can produce something very unique like, I don't know, hot thermal bath, or something very specific, you will see
Mm-hmm.
that all other real estate won't keep up with the value of Bitcoin, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yes.
So, or will keep going up together with the value of Bitcoin, because if the government are still printing fiat money, Bitcoin will keep going up. So it's
Yes.
just, you understand, the same thing applies.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
at some point, when we start thinking, because now we are programmed to think in dollars. If you're from the United States, if you're from Europe,
Yes.
your brain thinks and value things everything around in euros. Now your brain thinks, so how many euros is this phone? How many dollars is this phone? We'll
Mm-hmm.
get to a point that we'll think in Bitcoin or sats. So how many sats is this phone?
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll see that real estate that we thought to be an investment or to appreciate with time is not really appreciate. It's just the dollar that you buy real estate with is losing value. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
Yeah.
personal opinion.
Yeah, no, it's a very very interesting one too as well, because I kind of tend to lean towards your way of thought, but a part of me just kind of wants to own a few homes just so I can get income from them. But
But
then
then
will
you are
that
not
be
buying a house, you're buying a business. And that's fine.
okay?
Now it's
Okay.
different. Okay.
Yes.
If you want to
Yes.
buy a business, if you like real estate as a business because for any reason,
Yes.
it's a great business. Go for it. Try. You need a lot.
Okay.
It's capital intensive. You're gonna have to understand a little bit of constructions and restructuring and
Yeah.
dealing with tenants and contracts, but can be a great
Hmm.
business like any other business. So yes, if you see real estate as a business, it's a totally, completely different topic. I'm thinking about real estate as an investment, but if you buy a house is not an investment. House actually takes money out of you. So a house is a
Yeah.
luxury and it's a needed one. Okay, depending on
Yeah.
what kind of house you buy or
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
own. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
as a business, I agree.